Afternoon, folks. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School, back down here at the Pathfinder Outdoor Classroom. What I want to discuss with you today is 5 items that you may consider adding to your kit. Now, I talk a lot about the 5 C's of survivability, the 5 C's of sustainability, or the 10 C's system that we teach here at the Pathfinder School. What you have to remember is there are a lot of things that can fall into those categories that sometimes you may not think about. And 5 of those items that I want to talk to you about today are things that we don't typically talk about in those categories, but they fit just fine, and they can give you a leg up when it comes to survival, both short term as well as maybe a little bit longer term. So let's talk about that real quick. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to kind of segue into another topic of discussion that I'm going to do here in the next few days. I'm going to be making a full seminar on water disinfection. And one of the things that's on this list happens to be a water filter. Now, doesn't matter what type of filter you decide to carry, but some type of backup to boiling water. And the reason for that, in all actuality, is that when you're talking about water disinfection, and we'll get into this more in the next video, you have protozoa, bacteria, viruses, metals, and chemicals. The only thing that boiling is going to get rid of is going to be protozoa, bacteria, and viruses. Heavy metals, chemicals are not going to be gotten rid of by boiling the water. It has to be filtered through the correct filter system to get rid of those things. You also have to remember that there may not be an opportunity to boil water when you actually need it. If you haven't planned ahead, or if it's been a long time since you found water, you may not have time to boil that water or the ability to boil that water. So carrying some type of filtration system is a good idea. How large or how small scale that is really up to you. It could be something as large as a Grail style filter, which this filter is really good because it will take care of all of these contaminants for the most part. And it's basically collect the water, press the filter, you're good to go. There's a nesting cup that you can buy made for this Grail, so you have a metal container attached to it. So it falls into that container category because it is a container. It's in a container. And it has a filter. Now, if you don't want to go to that extent or that weight and you're trying to keep pack weight down, something as simple as this Aquamira Frontier Pro that's basically sticking in the water source and suck it through the straw will work as well temporarily for you. This is good to about 50 gallons. That's a lot of water in an emergency situation, and you can just throw it away and buy a new one. But having something like this in your pack as a backup, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that everything that we talk about in our survival system, we always talk about the rule of 3s and having 3 of those. We say 2 is 1, 1 is none. I always say 2 is 1, 1 is none, 3 is better, right? So 3 options for things, 3 ways to start fire, 3 elements of your shelter. When we're talking about tools, in the basic level of survival, we always talk about a belt knife, an SAK, and a saw. And those things give us 3 different tool options depending on what we have to do. The same thing can apply to water. So what I would say is I would have some type of a filter device, whether it's something like this or whether it's a Sawyer filter. We'll talk more about those in the next video as well as some type of a chemical tab that you can use. That gives you 3 ways very quickly that you can disinfect water. You can boil it if you need to. You can filter it if you need it a little bit quicker. Or if you can wait a little bit of time but you can't make fire, you can always use a chemical disinfectant like chlorine dioxide. Again, those tablets don't take up any room in a pack and don't take up a lot of weight, especially if they're in foil packets. So it's a very simple add to your pack. The next one I would say is a tourniquet. And we talked about this in a video not very long ago, but I would say a dedicated tourniquet. And of course, this falls into the cordage category because it is a wrapping, lashing, binding type thing. So it falls into that category of cordage. However, it's something that we don't talk about necessarily adding to the pack specifically. So whether that's a cat tourniquet, a rat tourniquet, whatever you decide works best for you, and that's really what counts. A lot of people get hung up on, this is better than that. It's only better if you can make it work, right? For me, this is a quick, easy, simple option that I don't mind putting in my pocket so I know I have it on my person all the time. That's important as well. So there's no sense arguing with me about rat tourniquets because you're not going to win. All right? It's going to stop the blood. That's all I care about. Now, the next thing I would say is, and this is kind of a twofold thing. It's 2 items in one because of the way I've got it put together. But I would say some type of a radio that is 2 meter or 70 centimeter or GMRS if that's your preference, although there's a lot less repeaters for GMRS than there are ham radio on 2 meter, 70 centimeter, that you can call out for help, and a personal locator beacon of some sort that will preferably send messages or texts like this device from Motorola, like a Spot, like an inReach, something like that. Those are all good devices. Any one of them that you choose is fine. They'll all work. The inReach has a built-in GPS, so that may be a better option, although more expensive option for you. But adding these two small items to your kit doesn't take up a lot of room or weight, and it's going to give you another way to fill in that search and rescue or that navigation slash signal for rescue, because these are both signals for rescue. So they're signaling devices that I'm going to use in my kit. The last one that I'm going to say today is going to be a little controversial depending on where you live, where you recreate, all right? But for me, if you're going into unfamiliar territory in the US and you're traveling alone, especially if you are a female, a firearm is a no-brainer. It doesn't have to be a large firearm. A small, compact 9mm like this Glock, single stack, is fine. This fits in your back pocket. It doesn't take up a lot of room. It can fit in a small part of your backpack or something like that, but you want to be able to get to it fairly fast if you need to. It doesn't weigh a whole lot. It's got a nice little pocket holster for it. That works out really, really well. But something like that can be the difference in your self-aid category between needing self-aid and not needing it really. So it is your own self-aid and peace of mind that you have this firearm, not just for two-legged problems, but also for four-legged problems. So that's my 5. Pretty simple. Some type of water filtration. Again, filtration is going to help you take care of some of the things that boiling won't, if that's a worry for you. Again, depending on where you're recreating, boiling may not be enough no matter what, and you need to make sure that you can filter that water. So something that will take out chemical problems and heavy metal problems is always going to be some type of a carbon filter like this, whether that's a Grail, whether that's a Sawyer, whether that's a Frontier Pro, whatever it is, that you decide to use. That's really what's important, is what you're comfortable with. A tourniquet, bleeding is your number one priority. Stopping bleeding is your number one self-aid priority. Communication devices to call for rescue, whether that be a Spot, whether that be something like an inReach, or whether that be something like this Motorola Defy, and also a radio. This also has weather channels on it, so I can monitor incoming weather problems. If it looks like it's getting bad, I can monitor those weather channels on this radio. And then again, depending on where you live and what you can get away with, I would always recommend some type of compact firearm while you're recreating in the woods in the US, okay? So that's my 5. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, for our business, all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, friends, and I'll be back with another video as soon as I can, guys. Thanks.